and let's hope it's a really good match.
Okay, I believe Shasta has started off, and JRP has started off. So obviously, one of the things you might have noticed is that both obviously the text is a little bit of a different color. Both runners have decided to play on the Japanese version for their race. The general rule of thumb for the tournament is that both players must be playing on English, but if both runners agree, they are allowed to play on the Japanese version. And one of the main benefits of the Japanese version is, for one, the text is faster. So right off the bat, you save, in total over the run, somewhere around 3 to 4 minutes of text, as Fusion has a ton of it. And so the Japanese version ends up saving a large sum of text. And another thing is one of the room layouts has changed in a room in the late game, and you end up losing half a second because of the new room layout of in-game time in real time. Although each player's in-game time loses half a second, the current in-game time world record, I believe by both runners that have it, it's currently tied for 45. I believe both of them got on Japanese because, for one, Fusion goes by, for its in-game timer, it does not have seconds. So, obviously, half a second is not likely to make the difference between you getting a 46 and a 45, so to speak. And again, both runners, the early game is fairly straightforward. You have a bit of platforming to do, and again, one of the things you'll notice that each runner generally has a slightly different way of going through rooms, but every strat you see is probably going to have a similar time. Some of the strats you might see runners do are more faster, but much more difficult to do. And so you're going to see a little bit of a mixture of movement strats pretty commonly throughout the run. Okay, Rasu will be back in a second. He's got a Firefox issue.
Alright, I'm back. Just had to restart my Firefox. So it looks like at the moment JRP is in the lead despite his timer being slightly behind Mr. Shasta's timer, so that means his lead is actually a lot larger than you think. This is due to two things in the beginning: your platforming in general, as well as your tech smashing. So if both runners have exceptional platforming, the lead could actually be decided by tech smashing. And I think that there was a game where the winner was decided by tech smash.
I know Mickey versus Dragon Thing, so they were within 9 seconds of each other, so I don't know if it was just tech smashing that made a difference there, but
it was the 4-beam Idor that Dragon Fangs got for the last Idor, and Mickey got a 0-beam, so
yeah, that would do it.
They played very similarly after the Ridley fight, so it was really difficult for Dragon Fangs to catch up.
So again, both our runners are about to fight, or have already started the fight for the Arachnos boss. And Arachnos is a fairly straightforward boss. You basically just kind of spam missiles into him and hope he doesn't roll. If he rolls, that causes you to waste missiles if you're not careful, and of course that slows down how long it takes to kill it. But other than that, again, this fight is very straightforward. Most of the early game fights are pretty straightforward in how you defeat the boss. And unfortunately, Shasta got a roll there. So again, that's going to cost him a little bit of time. So I'm kind of curious about are any of our runners going to try and get the main deck missile?
It looks like JRP did actually get them. This may be because he may have plans to skip a missile in Sector 6. I've seen some runners do that lately. Apparently, recently found out that skipping the Sector 6 missile and replacing it with the main deck missile might actually be faster.
So then obviously, and again, that's going to help him out a lot there in Sector 1 as well, just because of how tight that sector can be on missile management if you aren't keeping your health up.
So JRP's got some very, very good platforming. Obviously, he is the world record holder, so that's something that should be well known. I mean, it should be noted that because he's the world record holder, his platforming is going to be very good. He's not one that makes very many mistakes. So if Mr. Shasta hopes to catch up, he will have to rely on luck as well as good platforming. For those of you who don't know, JRP is the world record holder, and Mr. Shasta is a soda at very reasonable price. I'm trying to remember what he runs. I can't remember right now.
Shasta really, if you're talking about like the games he speedruns a ton of them.
I see.
I mean, honestly, I don't think I could tell you every single game he's ever sped ran in his life. It's just too many to count.
I think it's Sonic. Is it Sonic?
Generally, most of the stuff he runs I've seen is Kirby. I don't think I've ever seen him run anything Sonic related.
I see. I just can't remember. But he does run a lot of games.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're just joining us, had not seen any of the previous tournament matches, you may be wondering why JRP is playing in the losers bracket. It is because he lost the first round to 32 seed Hubert after an unfortunate event at the final boss, the Omega Metroid.
Yeah, as it turns out, if you're not careful, and you end up fighting a boss that takes away 100 health with each hit, as it turns out, it's pretty easy to die. So JRP kind of unfortunately went into the losers bracket early, because of that.
Alright, it looks like JRP is now exiting Sector 1 while Mr. Shasta still has one stabilizer to destroy. Or infected stabilizer, that is. Alright, so it looks like the winner of this match will move on to face Galamaz, who is the number 14 seed. And then the winner of that will move on to face Kirby Master, who is the number 4 seed. So a lot of work for the winner here, only to be met by a very good player at the end. So we'll have to see what happens there. Right now, we have one more winners bracket match. Actually, two more. Two more winners bracket matches that we can watch before waiting for all of the losers bracket matches to complete. So the losers bracket is kind of behind, but hopefully they can catch up. Meanwhile, JRP just entered Sector 2, and Sector 2 kind of has its quirks. While it may seem fairly easy for speedrunners, some speedrunners will actually know that the room is full of RNG. JRP just managed to get lucky with that RNG there. So in Sector 2, before you get bombs, there are two rooms that have RNG. It's this room currently, and 2 rooms before that, in which the Zoro's placement may cause you to lose about a half a second or less, depending on where they are. So, for those who are trying to optimize, they may get quite annoyed by these Zoros. It's also one thing to note that this sector is actually very dangerous for the novice runner. Running into Zoros does a lot of damage, and if you're not careful, you could actually die because of the fact there are so many Zoros. Mr. Shasta able to pull off the double missile on that Zoro there. Shooting 2 missiles at the right time for the second Zoro in that room will allow you to kill it without stopping, which is deceptively hard. I mean, it looks like it's pretty simple, but depending on where the Zoro is moving, you may find yourself having a little bit of trouble doing it. As you can see there, he got hit by Zoro and is now at 84 health. So he needs to be careful here, make sure he doesn't take any more damage.
So my internet went down. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So what did I miss in my short time I was gone?
Not much really. JRP is just making his way towards Zasby, and Mr. Shasta is just behind him. Because of the time difference that you see on screen, JRPG's lead is actually a lot larger than it looks right now. Mr. Shasta is still in danger of dying here. 2 more Zoro hits could kill him. JRP able to get through the eye door with just 1 beam, I think. This fight could potentially help Mr. Shasta catch up, depending on JRP's luck here. Looks like JRP's having really good luck so far. The last set of jumps is the real troll. He can jump up to a maximum of 5 times. Oh, JRP not able to connect with the first set of doubles or the second set of doubles. How he did that last set is very unusual, but he managed to get it anyway. JRP stopping for some reason. Maybe controller issues? I'm not sure. But it looks like everything is alright now. Alright, so we have Sax here. We say hello to Sax, and then we say goodbye to Sax. If any of the runners had any guts or nerves of steel, they may attempt a Sax skip, which is very risky. Dying to Sax is highly probable if you don't know what you're doing. Almost guaranteed if you're absolutely not sure what you're doing. So doing a Sax skip is not recommended during a race unless you're like extremely far behind and you just don't care anymore.
So I don't know what my ISP is doing, but it's fortunately pretty disruptive for my internet right now. I'm preemptively apologizing for whenever I disconnect in the next 5 seconds.
Alright, it's no big deal. Alright, so we have JRP exiting Sector 2, while Mr. Shasta is now saying hello to Sax. So JRP just confirmed that he is having controller issues. I called it. Thank you.
Now see, had my internet not been freaking out, I would have heard you call it.
Because he said that he has controller issues, it would be extremely unfortunate if his controller died while he was in the water in Sector 4.
Oh man, I know exactly what you're thinking of whenever you say that too.
That would be really bad if he is unable to control Samus while he's in the water because the water is electrified and you take damage per second. Damage per frame or a second or something like that. Or every few frames. I'm not really sure what the calculation is. So we have pretty decent movement by JRP here, only making one slight mistake. Otherwise, perfect platforming for Sector 4.
Yeah, JRP is going to be incredibly consistent at pretty much a lot of the aspects of the game, if not all of it. You definitely do not get world record and grind it as long as he has without being extremely consistent in the game. And even though Shasta's doing incredible himself, there are a lot of moments where it's obvious where you can sort of see the consistency gap there. Even if you see like minor mistakes like JRP had at the start, right before the Idor there, he did have a little bit of a trouble jumping, but as Ross said, that's probably related to his controller issues more than anything.
JRP with the lucky one beam once again. I consider one beam to be good because it's definitely not 2, 3, or 4 beams. That almost looked like that was not a full charge shot. We'll have to find out. Okay, it was. It was very close to missing completely. So what I mean when I say that is that it is possible for you to get hit by Samus and have Samus be have Samus's cannon be outside Samus's head, therefore tinking onto Samus's body. It is possible that you can do that. So when you do your first charge beam, you kind of want to make sure you absolutely must make sure that none of the parts of the beam tinks. Thank you for calling me out, Eagle. What I meant was that it is possible. It is possible to shoot Samus's body while you're in that position up there, whether you shoot it early or not. I've seen it happen, and I've seen runners do that. So the timing on that is very important. Shasta unable to get the 2-hit kill, but don't worry, the next one should be a kill if you can get a good pattern here. Oh no. So Mr. Shasta is going to be set further back now because of the somewhat slow Sarah's fight here.
Ooh, that's not good. Okay, I think at this point, any shot's gonna kill it, so he just needs to land the hit at this point, I believe.
There we go. It was also very unfortunate that Saris gave Shasta really bad patterns for the last hit. It took Saris a while to actually approach Shasta.
Yeah, Saris, especially if you're uncomfortable dealing with his patterns, if you get like bad patterns, it can become extremely difficult and really draw out the fight. Grinding out Saris is definitely something I think a lot of runners, especially maybe at the low level, do not do, mostly because, you can land the 2-hit, you don't have to worry about it, but it's probably a very worthwhile time investment, I would say. Being able to react to most of the patterns is definitely worth it. You don't want to have a Saris RNG hurt you worse than it already is. You can going fairly smoothly for both runners. Again, JRP has had 1 or 2 hiccups here and there with, again, like you said, probably most of that can be attributed to his controls, but he has made a few hiccups here and there, but again, it's all been minor stuff. See if Shasta gets a low height, and he does. So pretty good leaving Sector 4 for Shasta.
One thing about this game is that there are so many RNG elements in places that you might not expect. Mr. Shasta, who just recently killed the gold crab, for some reason has RNG when he spawns. Sometimes the gold crab can spawn immediately, but sometimes it'll make you wait up to about maybe 5 seconds. It's really arbitrary. The game like has so many different random RNG points.
Yeah, it's kind of. I would say it can be fairly irritating to deal with sometimes. I guess situations like the animals and areas like that, to where you're basically getting punished for pretty much no reason, really. And in the grand scheme of things, none of those things are going to lose you like a significant amount of time, and you're not likely to have bad luck on all of them anyway. But each individual one can lose you like a noticeable amount of seconds, and that adds up over the run.
Right.
To some degree, it's kind of unfortunate how much time you can lose because of RNG in this game. But it's really much more noticeable at the higher level, because obviously at low level, you can always improve your boss strats, you can improve your movement. So like at that low level, you don't really, like, the RNG is there, but it's not really the reason that your times are bad generally. But once you get up to the level where we see JRP at, it starts to become a nuisance more than anything else.
So people have asked JRP before if he plans on attempting a 44, and JRP would usually say no, and the reason why he says no is that he believes that getting a 44 requires perfect RNG every time, and to have that in a single run would be ridiculous. I don't know, the odds are probably exponential. It's really hard.
Yeah, a 44 would be as close to a perfect run in Fusion for a human as possible. Like JRP already said, you'd probably have to get like near perfect RNG, and on top of that, you'd also have to you would also have to play perfectly too. And that's honestly I would say that's honestly the harder part. Like, obviously having to play perfect.
Oh, Mr. Shasta not able to pre-destroy that block there, and that doesn't cost much time.
I'm interested how Shasta's box fight goes. I'm not really familiar with how consistent he is at that fight, so I'm kind of curious to see how this goes for him. Maybe will he get it? Aw, he missed it. So you can store a spark when you're getting that item, and you can actually spark out of the room, and it saves a little bit of time. Unfortunately, Shasta was unable to get it, and I believe JRP just completely missed the charge completely. So, and speaking of minor optimizations, there, Shasta actually, in order to trigger the box fight, you actually have to go like a certain distance in that room that he just came from. And Shasta actually went a little bit too far, because if you do the fight if you go the correct distance, the game intends you to go all the way to the other side of the room and then back. And whenever it does that, it will make a shaking noise, and the screen will be shaking before you enter the next room. But in actuality, the trigger is a little bit before that, and if you do that, you won't actually hear any of the shaking noises, so you just have to kind of know where the trigger is. But when you enter the next room, you'll hear the shaking, and you'll see it right as you enter the next room. So that sort of tells you that you stopped at the right spot. And obviously, if you end up doing what Shasta did and going to the other side of the room like that, you'll see the shaking beforehand, but you went too far and you've lost a little bit of time. Like the less amount.
JRP did not bomb the wall before it destroyed the missile block, so that is an indicator of his intent to skip Sector 6 missile.
Yeah, as you said, he got main deck missiles, and I think he goes with 40 missiles, so he can just skip that missile. And I believe that's actually, out of the general ones you get for 40 missiles, I believe that's actually the one that you want to skip if you can't do the spring ball jump out of it. And even then, I think it's still the slowest one, but don't quote me on that. There is like a chart somewhere that has all the in-game time and RTA time saved for each of the missiles, and I do not have that on hand.
Beautiful RNG for JRP there. Sporting a zero beam IDOR. I think it opened quickly too. So on top of IDORs having between 0 and 4 beams to shoot at you, the time that it takes for it to actually open is also RNG. So and a lot of people overlook this, but it is there. IDORs can take quite a while before it decides to open up and expose its eye or shoot a beam at you.
For a split second there, I thought we were actually about to see our first death to Mega Core X in the tournament. JRP was pushing his luck a little bit at that fight, which, again, if you get knocked in the water like that, your momentum is slowed and it becomes that much more difficult to destroy the Core X. We actually could have seen that happen in the Ceres fight, but luckily I don't think any of our runners actually fell into the water there, so you didn't really see it. But it's sort of a similar problem. If you fall during that fight, you can actually struggle to properly fight the Core X without just getting injured too much. Ooh, I don't...
JRP showing signs of controller difficulty here.
Yeah, I was kind of hesitating to is this because of his controller, or is he just a little bit rusty? I'm not really familiar with how much he practiced before the run, so... But I think part of this is definitely controller issues, like when you just randomly stops. I think that's...
Yeah,
I mean, if this keeps up, Shasta has a very real chance of taking this.
Once again, all it takes, if you have controller issues, all it takes is for you to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not something... You don't want to have controller issues in this game. And again, at the level JRP is playing at, all of his movement is fairly optimal, and he already knows exactly what distance he needs to go to make a jump, and exactly what distance he needs to go to avoid an attack. And when that gets messed up by even a little bit, after you've rehearsed it for that long, I mean, it'll just completely ruin your run. It'll kill you in a lot of cases.
So speaking of controller issues, it would have definitely been disastrous if JRP lost control of Samus in Sector 6 without the Varia suit because of the blue X's flying around.
Yeah, thankfully we did not see that happen, and Shasta's Mega Core X fight, it could have been better, I think. You should ideally kill it in only 4 hits, and it's the same strat you do as Ceres, which is where you hit it with all 3 parts of the charge beam, which is the bottom, top, and the flare. But Shasta did not have a perfect shot. He only had 3 perfect shots, I believe, so he was a bit forced to fire an extra shot into the Mega Core X. And both players sort of messed up the manipulation of its movement a little bit too as well. Generally, you can manipulate its movement to where it always comes from like one direction in one spot, and you just keep jumping in there and hitting it. And JRP was able to... They didn't really affect him as much as it did Shasta, but if you mess that up, the Mega Core X fight can go downhill really fast. So I wonder, let's hope he doesn't... I'm wondering if he can get this speed boost or not, if his controller is slightly... Okay, he's still got it. I was thinking that might be an area where his controller might mess him up a little bit. When he's got that speed boost that you saw, that's like an area I mentioned before where it's like, you know exactly where to stand, exactly where to turn around to get it, and you have to shoot an enemy on your way if you do it perfectly. And of course, if his controller was off by just a little bit, he could completely miss. hitting that enemy. And again, that would cause him to lose some time, because he would have to go back and get the speed boost again. But luckily, JRP was able to do it correctly.
Alright, so JRP unlocking the security level 3 doors should be making its way towards the nav room.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to note that although we're seeing JRP have a bit of minor flubs here and there, Shasta is also having a lot of those flubs I've been noticing too. I don't think he has controller issues. I think that's more just inexperience when compared to JRP, but I would say that not all the little flubs we've seen JRP make have been because of his controller issues. He is incredibly consistent, but again, you're in a tournament, and in JRP's case, you're in loser's bracket before you were expected to be, and there's definitely a bit of pressure there. So I would not assume that all of JRP's flubs are because of his controller issues. I don't think it'd be much of a stretch to say that he has made some genuine flubs here and there.
Alright, JRP picked up the ice missiles and is on his way to Sector 3, most famous sector. It's one thing to note for beginner runners is that while you're in Sector 5, you should be paying attention to your ammo count, because you'll need, at a minimum, I think it's 15 missiles for Sector 3 in order for you to get through it without any problems. So needlessly using missiles while you're in Sector 5 is a very bad idea.
Yeah, so this revisit to Sector 3, as you can see with the red flashing lights on his screen at the moment, is referred to as the Meltdown section of the game. And you revisit Sector 3, and you have to... If you notice, the first time we were here, we did not have the Varia suit. So Samus actually avoided the heated areas because she could not go into them. And now you have the Varia suit, and so the game's like, well, we haven't shown you the heated areas, so now that you have the Varia suit, let's show you the heated areas. And so we see Samus, she'll go into the heated areas of the place and basically try to get to a room where she will fight the beam mechs, which will give you the wide beam. But the whole Meltdown section is, again, it's a fairly impressive area when done properly. It's fairly difficult. And again, there's a timer too, so you can sort of tell how well your emergency went, not just by your splits, even if you don't use splits, because you'll see the timer and you'll know like the general time, about the general pace you're running at. And I believe a really good time is like in the, I believe it would be like what, 4:30 left, like something around there for like a really good time.
For JRP standards, we should expect to see, if he does get 0 beams here, we should be expecting to see a 4:34 or better.
Yeah, so again, 4:30 plus is a really good time. It's one of those sectors where you can easily point out like the difference between lower level runners and high level runners, just because even if like both runners play really well, if you watch runs over a period of time, you can even see like the consistency vary there. Again, hopefully JRP is lucky with his Idors and is able to get the 4:30, but again, if he gets within like I would say like a 4:27 up to a 4:34, that's a fairly good emergency, I would say.
So a little bit of bad luck for JRP. 4:30 Meltdown is still possible. Once again, with good Idor. And we'll find out here shortly.
And he got a perfect. No beams. So this should hopefully be a 4:30, maybe? Or extremely close to it, at the very least. And he gets both doubles and the correct. Okay. So again, this is a really good Meltdown for JRP. Not quite as good as I think he'd want it to be, but as I said, it was still a 4:30, so that was solid. We're actually about to see Shasta's about to go into the Meltdown, so it'll be curious to sort of see what his time is when compared to JRP's. And he has a little bit less missiles than JRP did, I think. So
He's got the bare minimum.
Yeah. So that is not good for Shasta, I would definitely say.
He's like Jennifer Aniston in Office Space. The bare minimum amount of flair.
I never seen that before, so I'll just go with it and pretend and agree with you.
There's a scene in Office Space where Jennifer Aniston's manager talks to her about doing the bare minimum at work.
All I have learned so far is that I should just go watch that.
It's a very good movie.
So yeah, JRP is actually going to be going now to save the animals, and that's basically a fairly, I guess you could say, really boring part of the game. The animals are complete RNG, so it depends entirely on whatever frame you happen to enter their room in with. But but even then, it's not really a huge time loss if you get bad RNG there. But we'll see if JRP gets good RNG, and I'm hoping I don't think JRP goes for the impossible strat on the entering the animals room, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him do it.
Yeah, there's not too many runners that go for it, which I can sort of see why, but it's definitely a fun strat to watch. So I'm hopeful that if JRP does not go for it, Shasta will.
So Shasta actually is going to run out of the missiles on the eye door here, and his only hope is to use the charge beam.
Yeah, thankfully, ooh, that's not good. Okay. Yeah, that's what, you gotta absorb that extra, it's just gonna, okay. So again, Shasta able to kill the Idor. He had a bit of bad luck there. And JRP is, yeah, he's just doing the climb properly. He's made it up. So Shasta, yeah, I think he got one double there, so that was good. Which I don't even think we explained doubles, but
I think the viewers should know by now. Don't know if anyone's ever asked questions about doubles for this run.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys just want a quick primer, basically doubles are you basically hit an enemy with two missiles in the same frame, and it's used in a lot of areas and on a lot of different enemies. It's just most commonly used on the Core X fights, but you can see it used in Idors in the early game, and I believe that's actually about it, other than that.
So we have JRP making his way back from shaving the animals.
And I was more focused on Shasta because he was at the end of Meltdown, but I believe he actually got okay RNG. It wasn't like the best RNG, but it was fairly okay from what I saw. You don't often see great animal RNG in this game.
I think we might actually get to see the two runners high five at the elevator.
I say no, because Shasta has to go through the nav room first, so that's the only thing. Well, no, yeah, because JRP's got to go through the main deck elevator, so I was forgetting about that.
The high five somewhere here, or maybe JRP will pass him as Shasta is going up. Oh, they'll high five in Sector 3. Oh no! Come
Looks
back.
like they completely missed the high five, unfortunately. JRP just kind of said, well, I gotta go to Sector 5, so I'm gonna stop at Sector 3 here. So, unfortunately, no high fiving today. Again, Chas is going to save the animals, and JRP is going to visit Sector 5 for the second time. Will he get the spark? He does. So there's a little bit of a shine spark you saw there you can do at the start of the sector, and you can jump out of a shine spark, so that's a bit interesting. But again, JRP just sort of saved a little bit of time by getting that trick.
Actually, there were some people were saying that doing the shine spark is actually slower for RTA, ever so slightly slower, but slower nonetheless. I think it was proven that if you went down the shaft and just went straight through, you save more time, and this is because the shine spark, while it looks fast, is actually slow in certain places where you don't shine spark long enough, because the animation for the startup and the bonk takes a long time.
Yeah, there's been a lot of areas where, like, it seems like lately there have been a lot of areas where we sort of reevaluated and said, okay, is shine sparking actually faster here?
Right.
Like, I know one area that I can think of right off the bat is right out. It's like in lower sector 4, which we'll be seeing like way later in the run. We're still like, it's like 20 minutes, maybe 15, maybe out from there. But there's an area where previously you stored a spark and then you shine spark through a certain enemy and can store the spark on the next slope, and from there you would hold it until you could shine spark up a long shaft. But it's at least kind of, I believe it's like determined now that it's faster to just space boost through that enemy and then just space jump up the shaft. But again, I'm not entirely sure on that. I know it was extremely close though.
Yep, it is slower to shine spark. One other notable place where the shine spark was replaced by walking is in Sector 3, just before you trigger the box fight. It used to be in the old days that you would open the door to the room left of the data room that has the super missiles, and then shine spark right through. It was found out that is actually slower because you move way past the trigger point for the fight, and then you have to wait for the bonk. So they found out that just walking there is actually much faster. And another example is at the very end of the game. While not losing time, it definitely does not save much more time when you do the low height shine spark, because that you bonk at the end of the screen and you are past the trigger point for Omega. So it looks like it saves time, but it actually saves like marginal, to say the least.
Yeah, and speaking of the Sector 3 that you talked about before, I mentioned earlier that Chasta did not do that spark in Sector 3 you were talking about, but he did actually walk all the way to the left side of the room instead of actually stopping at the trigger. So
At that point, it might have been a little bit better if you shine sparked. I'm not sure.
yeah, so I just mentioned that. I don't know if that was just a mistake on his part or if he is unfamiliar for where the trigger's at. He does have a sub 50 in this game, so I'm assuming at this point that was just a mistake on his part.
All right, we see Mr. Shasta just about to pick up the power bombs, and JRP is on his way to fight Yakuza, the six-legged spider, who also has a scar over his left eye, I think. So, would Yakuza be considered an arachnid? since he has 6 legs.
You know what? To me, he looks like a creepy spider, so he's an arachnid. I don't even care if it's accurate or not. He looks a creepy spider. That's good enough reason for me. Fictional
enough.
creature, we don't have to be accurate. And again, no beams. We promise that the RNG is not tied to how good you're playing through the game, although JRP is making it look that way.
And speaking of creepy spiders, I think that JRP has adopted a creepy spider not too long ago. It's a huntsman spider or something like that.
Ooh, 4 round. That's not good.
Probably something to help him reminisce
Oh,
about the
what?
good old times.
Oh no.
Oh, what?
It must have been muscle memory. Because like he's used to grinding out for runs, and so a 4-round Yakuza would have been a reset. So that must have just.
Oh no, JRP is saying in the chat that he had a power surge and his game restarted. Did he save at the ship?
Yeah, I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. I mean, if he did, he's still ahead of Shasta at this point if he did. But I don't think he did.
No.
That's... Oh, no.
We're gonna find out here if JRP... No, he did not. That is extremely unfortunate.
And that's... I mean, that's kind of... That's something that's completely outside of his control, too, so I don't know what to think about that. No, if they're gonna... I'm assuming Shasta's just gonna keep going. I don't think they're gonna reset and try it over, but... Again, though, that's why I think it's probably a safe measure throughout the entire tournament to take that save at the ship. That's like very little time loss and kind of protects you in case something like that happened.
To answer Lionheart's question, if Shasta dies, he is allowed to restart from his last save point. And I think he actually did save at the ship. So it's safe to say that Shasta will now have a considerable lead because of the save if JRP decides to continue.
I don't think he will, because Shasta isn't that much worse than him. He's only got 3 minutes worse than his PB, so... Or, sorry, 4 minutes worse. I'm still thinking 46 is the standard. And again, 0 beans for Shasta as well, so that was good RNG on his part. And 0 rounds, that's... Ooh, but he did not do enough damage, so that kind of...
Well, I'm out.
I mean, Shasta could still die, but... Ross says he saved the ship, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm not entirely sure that he did.
Did you guys just see what happened?
All we saw was that you were fighting Yakuza, you got a 4 round, and then suddenly, you were at the main menu again.
All I heard was a really high-pitched electricity noise, and then my game just rebooted.
At first, I thought like you had...
That's never, ever, ever happened before. Only in races this would ever happen. Like as soon as it rebooted, my controller stopped working like altogether. It just would not work. Like even my GBA made a noise. So I don't know. I guess I'm out of the 20.
That sucks, man.
At least I didn't die this time.
So now Shasta is heading to the Netherite fight, and he went with 45 missiles, so 6 charge shots and power beam, or 6 charge shots and power bombs, I believe. That would...
For the current missile count that he has, he would just need to land 3.
3 of each, or just
3 total to make sure that the boss is dead, but that will leave him with 0 missiles.
okay. Seems like he's gonna be taking a bit safer than that, though. So
he decides to use 11 charge beams and power bombs, so definitely have a lot of missiles. It could be because of the fact that he realizes that he may tink against the plasma beam that Neteri shoots out, so it's definitely a safety thing.
yeah, I don't think he's got any doubles so far. Or he got both of them. That's cool too, I guess.
I'm so salty, dude. Like, oh, it was bad enough. I was having like controller issues everywhere. The fact my game just felt like, hey, I'm gonna switch off and on is really, really annoying. Because that's out of my control.
Yeah, I said in the future, I think every single runner should take the ship save, like regardless. Because like you never know what can happen, and it's not that costly of a time loss.
I might actually look back at my stream and see what happened.
Again, all I saw was you were fighting Oxa, you got a 4-round, and then suddenly you went back to the title screen.
Yeah, like really high pitched noise, like electricity, and then everything just stopped. Everything in my room just like stopped and started.
Yeah, I did not have audio on, so I don't know if it made like if the noise came through the stream or not.
I only did it for like a fraction of a second, but it was enough to switch off my game. Do you know what it probably did? When the power surge, it probably went through my Game Boy link cable, and when there's full power going for the cable, it presses every single button at the same time. Like, it tells the GameCube to press all the buttons. So it's soft reset. So the power surge caused my Game Boy to press everything. I could look back at the... I'll look back at the...
Did you have your input viewer up?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look at that.
It definitely looks like you hit the soft reset keys somehow. So now Shasta's heading to Nightmare Fight.
What? It was
Well-
hitting all. Hang on. I think I might be right. Because when the power surge happened, it pressed select. And I never pressed select during a run. Yeah, it did. It pressed select, start A and B because of the power surge. So the game just rebooted. That is really dumb. That is the dumbest thing that's ever happened to me in a race. Dumbest thing that's ever happened ever.
Shasta got really unlucky there. He got all 4 beams. That was not very good luck on his part, unfortunately. So a good start to the Nightmare fight by Shasta. He, believe he missed 1 shot, but for the most part his fight's been going well. So now he just needs to manipulate Nightmare's movement to, cause that to happen. And the fights should be over, now he just needs to fight the Core X, which is a fairly easy fight. Hopefully he'll be able to get triple-double on this.
Looks like he got 2 doubles out of 3.
Yeah, it's 6 hits, I believe, to kill Nightmare Core X, and he killed it in 4, so he should have got 2 doubles.
So I'm sure there will be a lot of discussion as to the events that transpired here. Not exactly sure what the way ahead is going to be. I don't know if anything in the rules talk about situations like this.
I think it'll definitely get discussed. I know both JC and Herc are asleep right now, and
I didn't think it was fair for me to lose a run like that. Like, that's just really dumb.
as I said, we're probably gonna have to talk about that for sure, but at the moment, like, half our admins are not online, so we likely won't make a ruling on it until tomorrow sometime, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I remember it making a noise. Let's see if I can find that noise. Nah, I didn't hear it, but I did hear a high-pitched noise. Let's find my commentator stream. I guess I'll help commentate then.
So, as we saw there, you notice that Shasta actually space boosted through that enemy, and that was actually what I was talking about earlier, where that's actually slightly faster. Previously, we used to store a spark and try and spark through it and store down the next hill and spark up that shaft that Shasta climbed up with Space Jump, but space boosting through it and space jumping up there is actually faster.
So, as the text clearly says, Shasta just now picked up the diffusion missiles.
I'm not entirely sure if that's what the text said, but I can't read Japanese, so I'm
It's
afraid I can't
very-
refute you there.
It's very obvious.
And that's what it says in English, but who knows, man? Like, this version came out later, so we don't even know what they translated it to.
All right, at this point, Shasta is going to make his way back to Sector 6 and is going to revisit Box. This time around, Box has actually been affected by the X and is now more powerful than the previous Box.
Yeah, the Xbox fight. Whoa.
Sorry, my headset came out. Plugging it back in. Now try.
Okay, so the Xbox fight is as Rosu just said, it's basically an upgraded version of the box fight we saw earlier. The room layout's a bit different, with the ceiling being a little bit lower. So whenever Xbox jumps, you actually it will not miss you. If you notice in the first fight, when Xbox jumped, it didn't hit you because you were high enough on the ceiling to where it could not touch you. But in the new room layout, the Xbox will actually hit you with its jump. So you have to sort of move out of the way of its jump in order to avoid getting hit. And his attack's also slightly different. He doesn't shoot his little bomb that lands out of the fire pillars like he did in the first fight. He now uses missiles at you that you have to destroy with your plasma beam. And again, the boss fight's going to be played very similarly as to the first Xbox fight, other than those changes. The runner's still going to primarily focus on just simply trying to land as many missiles in it as possible.
Warning.
So a good start to the fight by Shasta. He's actually having a great fight so far. It's fairly close to being dead.
Oh yeah, that was perfect.
And as I say that, he lands the last missile shot and kills it, so... And if you notice, he's not actually trying to go for doubles on this Core X, and that's just because you don't really have enough room to do it effectively as a human. But again, pretty sure you got sweet spot, and again, really good fight by Shasta. That fight is... It's easy to look at that fight and say, oh, it doesn't look that hard, but it's fairly common to see runners actually struggle with that boss fight. And again, slightly off spacing during one of the rounds can just completely ruin that fight for you.
It is definitely a very difficult fight for casual runners. I watched a streamer run the game blind and encountered Xbox, and I think he spent a good hour or so trying to fight him, and he was raging really hard. So speedrunners definitely make the fight look easy, but it's not at all to a casual player. I know that Nightmare and Yakuza are one of the two extremely difficult bosses for a casual player.
I think it's sort of interesting because it's easy for us, even me who's not that good of a runner, after running this game for a while, you start to kind of come desensitized to the boss fights because they all start to kind of feel easy. But when you're a casual runner when you're a casual player who's never played this game before, and the first time you play through it, you will definitely struggle with those boss fights. I know I had a hard time with all the fights whenever I first started out.
Right, and I actually left out Nettori. He's actually very difficult if you don't set up the fight correctly. Because if you're just standing at random places, you'll get hit by the projectiles from the plants. So for some reason, this game kind of throws a lot at you early on, actually, and for first-time players or casual players, you can get very frustrated so fast.
It's like almost all the bosses have some like easily exploitable way to kill them. But like if you're playing it casually, you're not going to know about that. So it goes from like becoming what a speedrunner will say, oh, this is just a really easy fight, to like a casual player playing through it and they not knowing about the little secret tricks that we do. And it's one of the most difficult fights they've ever played in the game. So, and it's one of the great things to think about watching this speedrun is that you'll see like boss fights that if you play through the game casually, you might think, okay, these boss fights were incredibly difficult. And then you watch someone speedrun it and suddenly it's like, whoa, wow, these guys are really good. But again, part of that is simply because of setups that casual players won't know about. We get a lot of mileage off simple setups like this. You're actually going to see the, if assuming everything goes right for Shasta, the last 2 boss fights of the game are actually going to be killed with the stun lock. So that will actually be interesting to watch as well.
So we have Shasta here opting to shoot at Ridley horizontally to start the fight, which does less damage than shooting diagonally. But overall, he has a lot of health, so he's not going to be concerned with health. Actually getting a really good fight. Really kind of just stayed in one spot, allowing Shasta to shoot as many charge beams in.
Oh, he almost got it. He almost got the triple-double. That was close.
I'm almost willing to bet that is a gold split for him.
Oh, definitely. He is a gold split. I can confirm that, actually.
That was a really fast Ridley fight.
Yeah, again, even though he didn't get the diagonal setup at the start, that fight was just really good, so...
Alright, so after killing Ridley, Shasta now has the screw attack, which is kind of sucks in a way that you only use screw attack for like a good 5 minutes of the game. So it doesn't really have much use other than being invulnerable during the Corex fight against SAX. So it's kind of a shame to get the screw attack so late.
Yeah, it's sort of funny. I was always thinking, this item's so powerful and they don't let you use it in the game, but then I kind of thought, well, it's probably part of the reason they made it powerful because it's pretty much the last major upgrade you get. So, I mean, they kind of had to make it extremely strong to be worth it, really. I imagine if you got it earlier in the game, it probably would not have been quite as useful. Or at least would have been nerfed. Like, we'll see during the Sax fight, the last phase of the Corex part of that fight, as Ross mentioned, it makes you invulnerable to the ice beam that shoots out. And I'd wager if you got the screw attack much earlier in the game, that it probably wouldn't have that property, and a few others.
One thing to note, though, while the screw attack makes you invulnerable to most things, it's certainly not make you invulnerable to everything. If you don't stun lock the SAX, SAX can still hit you with SAX's own screw attack. So hopefully Shasta will get the stun lock here, otherwise he'll have to kind of deal with that. So we'll just have to hope for a good fight.
Hey, the blood's green. Green blood.
And again, at this point, Shasta is just at a very long text box, but thankfully he's at the end of it. So now he'll be heading to fight the Sax. And after that, he'll be going to fight the final boss of the game and finish.
Looking at Shasta's time here, I think that he might be on a 49 pace, if everything goes right.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I know these splits, I believe, are 49 splits because that was his most recent PB from what I've heard. And he's a little bit plus on them at the moment, so it may not be quite 49 pace. Again, though, depends on how the Sax fight goes and the Omega fight.
Shasta opting for the horizontal strats. Not as quick a kill as the diagonal strat, however, is still very fast compared to fighting SAX traditionally or casually, that is. Able to get the 2-shot on the mutated form, and now we're going to fight the Korax, missing the first double there, as well as the second. I think that might be a double, so we'll...
Yeah, I think he got a double there.
Alright.
Yeah, he did. So again, it's extremely difficult to get doubles on that Korax, so even getting one is still impressive.
Okay, so this is now a 50 or a 51 pace. And I believe his PB is a 49. Is that right?
He got it in the tournament, and I don't think he's gotten a higher PB since then. So yes, and does not get low height, unfortunately. And that was actually the spark you mentioned too. That's kind of iffy on if it saves time, and if so, how much.
Just barely saves time. And the reason being is that the trigger for the Omega fight is actually the center of the room, as you see it right now. When you do a low height, you shine spark all the way to the right, and then you bonk, and then you are past the trigger point. So there's time lost in a sense that is kind of time equalized by the not low height.
And again, Shasta gets perfect stun lock, so that's it. It's completed his run. Now we're gonna get to see how much. I do believe he saved time from that boss, maybe. And he did, so that's gonna be nice.
Meanwhile, we have a JRP attempting double missiles on world's hardest boss. And he gets it. Oh, I don't think he did. Oh, he did.
I got 2. Oh my god. Did you know getting a triple on that worm is...
It is possible.
It's not pixel perfect and frame perfect? and he works on certain subpixels.
So for now, congratulations to Mr. Shasta for winning. However, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of discussion on what happened, and we'll find out what the verdict is. I can't say for sure. I'm not an admin, so I cannot speak on behalf.
As an admin, I can confirm that most of our admins are not online right now, so any kind of decision won't be made until like much later, as in probably tomorrow.
Hello?
Oh, hey, Shasta.
Hello.
We have Mr. Shasta who won the race.
Unfortunately. That's whatever,
Yeah.
I guess.
So, how'd you feel about your run?
I had the worst service of my entire life. Other than that, I actually played pretty decently, I guess. Though I haven't played in a few days, so I played kind of sloppily in a lot of areas. Like, you might see towards the end of the run where in that one in Sector 1, I got like none of the catches or the platforms I was trying to do to attack turrets. That's one thing I was really sloppy about. I just from like being a little bit rusty, I guess. But other than that, I think I did okay. I had some nice gold to the end there, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I knew immediately that it was gold split based on how you fought Ridley. I wasn't looking at your stream or anything, but I was like, this is a gold split for sure.
Definitely. And I've been working on the Xbox fight as well, and I got exactly what I practiced, so I'm happy with that. I've never done that fight that way in the run before, so I'm happy with that one at least. I don't have much else to say other than that though. But yeah.
How much time were you off of your PB?
Let's see, 44.2 seconds on the RTA. I think it's either be a 49 or a 50 here though, but we're about to see right now on my own screen. I won't spoil it though.
I'm almost positive it's a 50.
It probably is. But who knows? It's the mystery of Metroid Fusion. You're right. I'm just gonna spoil it. Dang it.
Yeah, I knew your PB was a I knew your PB was a 49. And I saw that you were like plus 30 seconds or so, so I was thinking, yeah, that's probably it.
Exactly. I had just like absolutely the worst Ceres ever. It was a straight up a 5-round Ceres. I got the first hit perfectly, but then the next 4 were just bleh. I just couldn't land a hit on him at all.
Yeah, that's probably your biggest. I think that was definitely probably one of the biggest time losses there.
Definitely
I think a better
was.
Cirrus fight would have improved that time by a lot.
My luck overall in this run actually was really, really crappy. I got a lot of 3 or 4 BMI doors. It was just not a fun time. But it's never, I guess.
JRP before his power went out, he actually he was getting a lot of 1 BMI doors, I noticed, or 0 BMI doors, and commented on that, and I thought that was kind of neat. But he ended up getting a 4-round Yakuza, which is when his power went out, and you ended up getting a 1-round. So I guess that kind of, you got a bit of revenge for those eye doors there.
It was a 1-round, but I really messed up the beginning of the fight, so I'd actually faced him twice. So, and then the second round was a 4-round because I just messed up the beginning of the fights. That's where the being rusty thing just came into play, unfortunately. That's another like place where I lost time just because I was not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
It happens though. I'm curious to see what happened with this though, because of the power surge. It's really unfortunate.
Basically, it was like a fraction of a second, but it was making my controller press all the buttons or something. and it just happened. It was just pressing random buttons, and it just happened to press A, B, select start.
Oh god. That's unfortunate to say the least. Do you know what the cause of that was?
I know. Oh, I heard a high-pitched noise, and then my controller stopped working and my game rebooted. Like, my controller was full on not working. Like, I had to turn it off and on.
Holy shit. That's really unfortunate to say the least.
Yeah, I definitely bet it's a power surge.
That's not the outcome I expected this race to say, at the very least, by any means whatsoever. God dang.
Hey, look, IQ Fusion.
So Ross, I think, was saying something before.
Yeah, there was one point, Shasta, that you were very close to dying. That was at the Mega Core X fight. Could you tell us how you were feeling?
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now. I have a lot of trouble in general with that fight, just because not because of Core X, which I can do well, even though I didn't do well in that particular run right there, but just because of the actual Core X after the fights. I can never line up doubles at all in it for every reason. I like ran it out one day for like over an hour. I still had trouble with it. So that's what happened there. I didn't notice my health at all until I got the fifth missile on him. So
Interestingly enough, JRP also had issues there, and he was also at risk of dying. I think he had 40 something health, which is not enough to survive another hit.
oh wow.
I was just having major controller issues throughout my whole run. Like you would have seen me randomly stop moving and then just release my beam for no reason, fall down a lot.
I knew it immediately after the Zazabi fight when you ledge grab twice and you're at the top of the platform and you just stopped, and I said, "Oh, JRP must be having controller issues."
Yeah. The worst was in Sector 6 when I was trying to climb up and I was just falling down.
Yeah, I noticed, like, especially in the room, like, pretty close to, I think it was the one with the missile expansion, I noticed that, you, sort of struggled to get behind the puffer, and I wasn't sure if, like, it was just controller inputs dropping or not.
It was. It's just impossible. It was impossible to do anything. Like, I'm surprised I got as far as I did.
And you're still ahead of me at that time.
Yeah, he was pretty much ahead of you for, like, pretty much all the race, I think. I don't think there was a point when you ever got ahead of him.
Especially that Sarah's, like, holy shit.
Yeah, in fact, if I remember right, I think I may have mentioned this. Whenever his if he had saved at the ship, and after his system had rebooted or whatever, I think he still would have been ahead of you if he had even, like, if he saved the
I
ship
didn't
and
say
actually.
because I was not expecting that because that's never happened.
That's reassuring though. But even if his power went out and like he stayed back to the ship, I'd still be behind him by a few minutes. It's fine though.
I mean, JRP does have the world record at a 45, and you have a 49. So I mean,
I know. Just kind of funny to me. That's all it is.
Given the amount of RNG JRP had, he was definitely inside of a 46 at that point.
That's really good still.
yeah, it seemed like a whole run. He had a lot of better RNG than you did. So
I got a lot of 1 beams and 0 beams. I got a good serious fight too.
I got a lot of
That
2,
Mega
3, and
Rex fight though. My controller was just not working the entire Core X fight, so I'm just trying to run away from it.
I was honestly impressed you were actually able to, in the Mega Core X fight, still able to land the 4-shot kill, even though you kind of had that little bit of a disruption where you landed in the water.
I knew where it was gonna go. I fought it so much. It's pretty predictable for me now where it would go.
That's good at least. That's definitely finding a practice at the end though, just because of what happens on it. I need to figure out like exactly how I can just straight up get those double missiles on the Core X. I just like always struggle with that. But I guess I'll figure it out eventually.
That's like a boss fight. I don't think I've ever gotten a double any time in any of my Mega Core X fights, but since even considering practice time, but I've actually gotten multiple doubles on pretty much all the other late game bosses, so I don't know what it is about that boss, but it's just kind of difficult to land doubles on in general.
I've been more recently going for doubles on SAS. I figured it out a little more. Before I would just not go for that at all and go for the safe strats, which would be like trapping like Korax on one of the platforms and you just shoot down at it. But now I've been going for like more doubles because I figured out more recently just how it exactly works for that fight. Because you have to like hurry yourself right before you shoot. You have to hurry yourself right after you shoot the second missile, just so it doesn't like absolutely destroy your health or anything. Like on the Korax, I mean.
Yeah, I actually noticed you actually got a double in that fight too. I noticed that.
I can't tell half time if I get a double in that fight. It's just I just move too quickly and the screen moves too fast. I just kind of have to hope most of the time. Like, recently I've been getting more. I recently I'm actually getting at least one double, so I'm happy with it.
The way I always spot doubles is obviously if you land the hit, it lets off a little bit of the ice sparkle that it does. So you just gotta look for two of those, because if one of the missiles, if you don't get the double, one of the missiles will just clink right off, and you can see that. But if they both hit, you'll see like two of the little icicle little animations that pop up, and that's usually how I can tell if someone got a double or not.
Definitely, I can tell like other bosses, but for just that fight in particular, I can never tell. But I guess like if I practice it more, I'll be able to tell after a while. So that's a good thing.
So if you're worried about taking, if you're worried about taking damage from the ice Korax when you do your doubles, you can always initiate the screw attack after your second double, and you'll miss. Actually, the core will miss everything, and you won't take any damage at all.
That's good. I gotta try it in that case. Might be a little tough to actually time it, but still, I'm used to it.
Yeah, if you're screwing attack around, there's basically nothing the Ice Core X can do to you.
So, if you're interested, you can see here what happened again. It shows the inputs. Like, it's just, I press things for one frame, like, rapidly. That's not humanly possible.
All right, so I don't know what the result of this is going to be, but assuming that, and once again, this is just an assumption, assuming that Mr. Shasta does move on, how would you feel about facing off against Galamaz?
I guess I'll feel dirty about that, but I guess if it happens, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I will say Galamaz actually, I believe he has a 50 in-game time, so that'll actually be a fairly close matchup, considering, like I said, you got a 50 in this run and your PB is 49, so...
I can definitely improve that a lot. Just that little part alone, I got to like 16 seconds on my own best, which is nice. So, yeah, I'm hoping that'll be definitely a closer match. It'll be a good race there for sure. If I do move on, that is. We're not sure what's happening still.
And we still have, I think, I want to say 2 more winners bracket matches that need to be played. Maybe 3.
It should be 2.
I think it's 2.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we played out all the winners quarters yet. I knew one side of the bracket was done because we had one person in winners finals, but I wasn't sure if all the winners quarter matches on the other side had finished or not. But yeah, so the 2 matches we have left are Eagle versus Mickey now in winners semis, and then we have the winners final match, which will be whoever wins that versus Hercules bench press.
Let's go, Herc.
So yeah, speaking of surprising hits, Herc actually did make it all the way over to winners finals. He got a little bit lucky in his winners round 4 in his winners semis match versus Paulsmore, who made a silly decision and ended up dying for it. and that gave Herc the free win. So,
What do you do? I didn't see that match.
Paulsmore, and this kind of confused me because of what he said before the match. He basically said before the match he was going to go for sack skip if Herc was ahead. But Paulsmore was ahead, and he went for sack skip anyway and died.
Oh my god, why would you do that? Why did
So,
you do the race?
I mean, it's almost expected because it's Paulsmore, and he's kind of notorious for doing weird things like that.
True.
But that's still really unfortunate that happened. And the Herc, of course, Paulsmore did not even try to like resume the run really, so Herc just kind of spent the rest of his run just like showing off different stuff. So we did get some entertainment out of it.
That's good at least, but dang. At what cost though?
Yeah.
Oh well. I was looking really for Herc though in Warriors Finals though. But we'll see what happens overall.
Yeah, and so like I said, we have also the other winners semis match, which is Eagle versus Mickey now. And that's going to be a very good match, I think, also to watch. Eagle has Eagle has a 45 in-game time, which is, again, tied with the world record with JRP, but JRP does have the RTA world record. And again, this is on the Japanese version. And again, and Mickey has a 46 in-game time. So he's not too far off, and I don't know his RTA off the top of my head. But
it should be noted that Eagle's 45 is a very high 45, and Mickey's 46 is a low 46. So they're very close together. So because that Eagle has a 45 and Mickey has a 46 does not mean that they're 1 minute apart. No, they're definitely within about 30 seconds. So it will be a very close race.
They're both very skilled runners as well, too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Eagle as well having zero mission, 8%, 100%, 8% hard world record. And Mickey also being kind of close as well to zero mission, 8%. At least a good 8% time, I guess, for zero mission. I think he's one of the top times, like maybe like third or fourth, something like that. Either way, he's also really good.
He's actually PB'd his 100% yesterday. I don't know by how much.
Nice. I love that run.
So he's getting better. And I think he's practicing for AGDQ.
Yeah, and the last race that Mickey was actually in, which was versus Dragon Fangs, he won by 9 seconds. So we've already had one really close matchup with him, and Eagle's last match likely would have been close as well if the runner did not make a mistake that cost a significant amount of time. But as I said, it's guaranteed. It is almost guaranteed to be a close match.
I'm really excited for it, to say the least. The big guys are too as well.
Yeah, and that match is actually a little bit off. It's going to be currently it's scheduled to happen on the 13th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So it's still a ways off, but as said, we'll probably be spending time between now and then catching up on the losers bracket, because the losers bracket matches are pretty. I mean, they're not super far behind anymore, but while we have 2 rounds of winners left, we have about 5 rounds of losers left before the losers finals. So that's we gotta play a little bit of catch up on there. And actually we don't even have the current there's one match in the current round that isn't completed yet too. So really it's 5 and 1 match. But again, we'll be seeing a lot of losers matches, I think, within the next week or so. And I think that's about it. Feasel, do you have anything else? Okay, well, thank you guys for coming out and watching, and I believe the next Fusion race, will be, right now it's scheduled on the 12th, but I can almost guarantee you there will probably be matches scheduled between now and then. So, actually, looks like there's, at least according to the schedule, there are actually 2 matches supposed to happen tomorrow. One is Hubert versus X Dragon at 3:30 p.m. and one at 7 p.m., which is No Life Face versus Manitobi. But there's been a few weird scheduling things, so I'm not entirely sure if those are still the correct times or not. I know I've seen some talk about rescheduling with some of those runners, so I don't know if it's still the correct time. But assuming those matches do happen, I guess that'll be next.
Sounds good to me then.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening or wherever you are. Have a good day.
Have a good time in your specific area.
Yes.
See you later, everyone.